comes from ancient texts of the Near East. Some researchers propose that the name Havilah may relate to Howlan, a term found in ancient South Arabian inscriptions that refers to a specific area in Yemen. Identifying Havilah with the Arabian Peninsula has significant implications for our quest to find the Pishon River, and, consequently, the location of the Garden of Eden. If Havilah truly corresponds to Arabia, it suggests that the Pishon could have been part of an ancient river system that once flowed through this region. This idea has gained traction thanks to geological studies that have uncovered evidence of dried-up riverbeds that once crossed the Arabian desert. Researchers have used satellite images and ground surveys to find these ancient channels, which indicate that the Arabian Peninsula had a much wetter climate in the past, one that could support extensive river systems. Although the precise boundaries of biblical Havilah are still debated, the link to the Arabian Peninsula provides a fascinating framework for understanding this ancient land. It aligns well with the biblical descriptions and archaeological findings, helping to connect ancient texts with our modern scientific insights. Ongoing research into Havilah and its potential location in Arabia continues to illuminate the historical geography of the ancient Near East, offering captivating glimpses into the world depicted in the early chapters of Genesis. David Roll's controversial location. For centuries, the quest to find the geographical location of the Garden of Eden has fascinated scholars, theologians, and explorers alike. While many see the story of Eden as symbolic, others have tried to trace its real-world location using the clues provided in the Book of Genesis. British archaeologist David Roll posits a compelling theory, identifying a location for the Garden of Eden just 10 miles from the bustling industrial city of Tabriz in northwestern Iran. Despite skepticism from some experts, Roll's assertions have garnered interest from various historians and geologists who find merit in his claims. Roll paints a vivid picture of the site. As you descend a narrow mountain path, you see a beautiful alpine valley, just like the Bible describes it, with terraced orchards on its slopes, crowded with every kind of fruit-laden tree. This picturesque valley, still thriving with mud brick villages, serves as a testament to the lush, fertile landscape that Roll believes aligns with the ancient descriptions of Eden. He notes that the term Gan, the Hebrew word meaning walled garden, aptly describes the valley encircled by imposing mountains, with Mount Sahand looming majestically above. This snow-capped extinct volcano, Roll argues, corresponds to the biblical Mountain of God mentioned in the Book of Ezekiel, where the divine presence was said to reside amid red-hot coals. Cascading from Mount Sahand is the Aji-Che River, whose name intriguingly translates to walled garden in the local dialect. Roll notes that the river is still revered by locals, believed to possess magical properties. According to Roll, the Bible's placement of Eden on the eastern edge of a fertile plain is corroborated by the valley, which sits adjacent to the vast Meondoab plain and is flanked by the salt lakes of Urmia and Van. Historically, the region was much more temperate and humid, enabling dense forests of pine and cedar to thrive, an earthly paradise that resonates with the idyllic descriptions found in ancient texts. Yet, Roll laments that contemporary pollution from nearby petrochemical industries has transformed this paradise into what he calls a paradise lost. This reflection on environmental degradation connects with Roll's interpretation of the Eden narrative, which he perceives as a metaphor for humanity's descent from a harmonious existence to the complexities of urban life. While Roll's theory diverges sharply from mainstream academic thought, he finds allies among a growing cohort of archaeologists and historians who insist that Eden has a tangible location. Many scholars traditionally regard the search for Eden as a pursuit akin to seeking the mythical Hades. Critics argue that the story of Eden should remain a matter of faith rather than archaeology. However, Roll counters this skepticism by treating the Bible as a historical document akin to the writings of ancient historians. According to Roll, the biblical account places Eden at the convergence of 4 rivers: the Tigris, Euphrates, Gihon, and Pishon. He identifies the Tigris and Euphrates, which flow near Lake Van, as straightforward candidates. Roll posits that the Gihon corresponds to the Araxes River, and the Pishon to the River, both of which meet in the vicinity of his proposed Eden. This geographical mapping offers a thrilling prospect for those inclined to believe that the garden is more than a mere figment of religious imagination. Roll also highlights numerous landmarks that retain biblical names in the area. The Cushai Dog is identified as the Mountain of Cush, while the Araxes represents the Gihon. Furthermore, a region called Nokti, near Tabriz, is suggested as the land of Nod, where Cain was exiled. Roll's interpretations encourage a re-evaluation of biblical narratives, suggesting that they may indeed reference specific geographic locales. Roll's previous work has already stirred controversy within the academic community, especially with his radical reinterpretation of Egyptian chronology and its correlation with biblical events. As the debate continues, Roll remains steadfast in his belief that the Garden of Eden has been located, challenging scholars to reconsider the intersection of myth, history, and geography. The ancient riverbed discovery. In the late 1980s and early 1990s, the scientific world was abuzz with excitement over a remarkable find by Dr. Farouk El-Baz, an Egyptian-American scientist and geologist. Using advanced satellite images, Dr. El-Baz uncovered what looked like a huge, ancient riverbed winding across the Arabian Peninsula. This groundbreaking discovery was set to change our understanding of the area's ancient water systems and might even shed light on biblical geography. Dr. El-Baz, famous for his work with NASA and his skill in remote sensing, was carefully examining satellite images of the Arabian Peninsula when he spotted some unusual shapes in the desert terrain. These patterns, visible from space, hinted at a long dried-up riverbed that had once meandered through the region. This ancient river system, known locally as Wadi al-Rumah, seemed to start in the Hijaz Mountains of western Saudi Arabia and flow eastward toward the Persian Gulf. The magnitude of this discovery was staggering. At its widest points, the riverbed stretched up to 3 miles across, indicating it once carried a large amount of water. This finding was particularly striking because the Arabian Peninsula is currently an arid landscape. It implied that, long ago, the region enjoyed a much wetter climate, one that could support large rivers and perhaps even lush plant life. To validate his satellite observations, Dr. El-Baz organized and led several expeditions into the Arabian Peninsula. These field studies provided essential proof supporting the existence of the ancient river system. Researchers discovered smooth pebbles, shaped by flowing water, scattered across vast desert areas. These pebbles, which originated from the Hijaz Mountains, had traveled hundreds of miles along the river, offering concrete evidence of the river's past existence and its journey. The discovery of this ancient river system had significant implications for our understanding of the geological and climate history of the Arabian Peninsula. It indicated that the region had experienced dramatic climate shifts over hundreds of thousands of years, moving between wet and dry periods. This new knowledge is vital for piecing together the environmental conditions that may have influenced how early humans migrated and settled in the area. El-Baz's exciting discovery reignited interest in the quest for the legendary Pishon River mentioned in the Bible. Now it's time for today's subscriber pick. Dr. Clara Jennings stared in disbelief at the ancient map sprawled across her desk. Lines and symbols hinted at a forgotten world, each stroke imbued with the promise of adventure. Her eyes fixed on the bold inscription, "The Garden of Eden's Pishon River has just been found." Legends had whispered of its existence for centuries, a river of gold said to flow with riches beyond imagination. After years of research and exploration in the arid mountains of Mesopotamia, Clara had finally unearthed a hidden cave, revealing the remnants of an ancient civilization. Inside, the faded map detailed a route leading to the river's mouth, marked by a glowing sun symbol, a sign that the legends were true. Clara felt a thrilling pulse through her veins. She was on the brink of rewriting history. With her team, she followed the map's winding paths through dense forests and treacherous valleys. As they approached the river's banks, sunlight sparkled off the water like scattered jewels. Clara knelt by the shimmering current, the very Pishon River that had eluded scholars for generations. The air was thick with mystery, and a sense of destiny enveloped her. As the team began to collect samples, Clara looked up, her heart racing. What treasures and revelations lay hidden in the depths of this ancient waterway, waiting to be discovered? Tracing the lost River of Eden. Some researchers, including archaeologist James Sauer, propose that a newly discovered ancient riverbed may actually be the long-lost Pishon River mentioned in the book of Genesis. According to Sauer, this river fits the biblical description better than any other river known today. His findings, combined with Dr. Elbaz's recent discovery, lend credibility to the idea that they have indeed uncovered this fabled river from Eden. This riverbed is considered the most likely candidate for the Pishon River, which is said to have originated from the Hijaz Mountains and eventually merged with the Euphrates and Tigris rivers. Interestingly, this riverbed is dry for most of the year now, but ancient records indicate that during a time known as Jaela, the climate was much wetter, allowing the river to flow continuously across the land, stretching from Egypt to Assyria. Scholars estimate that this flow lasted until around 200,000 BC, when changing climate conditions caused it to dry up. At its source, the river flows down from the Hijaz Mountains. It's fascinating to note that the same types of volcanic rock found in these mountains can be seen in the gravel of this ancient riverbed. Granite, black basalt, and quartz, materials sourced from the mountains, are all present. Among the intriguing features of this area is a prominent vein of quartz that runs through the mountainside. This extensive deposit serves as the main source of the quartz pebbles scattered throughout the riverbed. In ancient times, when the river was alive with water, these pebbles would have been carried downstream, eventually merging with the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. Genesis describes the Pishon River as winding through the land of Havilah, which closely resembles the river's ancient path across Arabia, curving elegantly across the Arabian Peninsula. While finding Wadi al-Rumah, believed by many to be the Pishon River, isn't particularly hard due to its vastness, navigating it can be challenging. The soft sand and shifting dunes covering parts of the riverbed make exploration tricky. Interestingly, when comparing Wadi al-Rumah's size to that of the Euphrates River, a surprising discovery emerges. The banks of Wadi al-Rumah are wider than those of the Euphrates today. In ancient times, the Pishon would have been even larger, with its riverbed measuring over 1.7 miles wide, a truly staggering size. As the area is explored, several fenced-off ancient wells are discovered within the dry riverbed, remnants of Wadi al-Rumah's role as a crucial route to Mesopotamia. Yet, this riverbed disappears beneath a vast sea of dunes. Crossing this sandy barrier to the other side, where Wadi al-Rumah reappears, proves difficult. On the east side of this dune field, Wadi al-Rumah can be rediscovered. Following the river upstream reveals gravel lining its banks, evidence of the river's powerful ancient flow. Approaching Kuwait, the gravel plain fans out, indicating the confluence of the Euphrates, Tigris, and Pishon rivers. This fan-like formation, sprawling across much of Kuwait, highlights the significant water flow of ancient times. Notably, the pebbles scattered throughout the gravel plain puzzled geologist Dr. Elbaz, who began to question their origins. His findings uncovered that these pebbles, which originated from the Hijaz Mountains, had been shaped and transported by the strong currents of the ancient river. Samples taken from the Hijaz Mountains matched the smoothed pebbles found in the gravel fields, revealing the incredible journey these rocks had undertaken over 500 miles downstream. Dr. Elbaz carefully mapped where the pebbles were found along the river, demonstrating that they had traveled over 500 miles from their source in the Hijaz Mountains. Following the riverbed for miles and witnessing its gradual expansion showcases the sheer scale of this ancient flow. This raises an intriguing question. Could this river indeed be the fabled Pishon? A mystery lost to time. The search for the Garden of Eden continues to fascinate theologians, historians, and laypeople alike. However, many biblical scholars believe that its actual location may never be found due to the transformative effects of the Great Flood described in the Bible. According to the scriptures, this flood was a cataclysmic event that reshaped the earth and obliterated the world as it existed before. The Bible recounts how, After Adam and Eve were expelled from Eden, the world was altered dramatically. The flood, as described in the book of Genesis, inundated vast areas, burying entire landscapes beneath layers of sediment. This geological upheaval left sedimentary layers, sometimes miles thick, which bear witness to the violent forces of nature unleashed during this catastrophic event. As a result, the world that existed before the flood was irrevocably altered, erasing the traces of the Garden of Eden. After the flood, Noah and his family settled in the plain of Shinar, which corresponds to modern-day Samaria or Babylonia. Here, we find the rivers Tigris and Euphrates. However, scholars argue that these rivers are not the same as those mentioned in the context of Eden. Instead, they likely inherited their names from the pre-flood world, much like settlers from the British Isles named new locations in America and Australasia after familiar places back home. This renaming indicates a significant geographical shift rather than a direct continuity of the original rivers. Moreover, the Bible describes one river in Eden that split into 4 branches. Today's geography in the Middle East does not match this description. The river's current paths and characteristics diverge significantly from what would be expected of the rivers flowing from a mythical garden. The combination of geological changes and the loss of all pre-flood landmarks makes it nearly impossible for scholars to pinpoint the Garden of Eden's original location. Thus, the garden remains an intriguing yet elusive part of biblical lore, shrouded in mystery and symbolizing humanity's lost paradise. What significance would finding the river Pishon hold for our understanding of biblical geography and the historical context of the Garden of Eden? Let us know your opinion in the comments below.